his championship teams.
The game of basketball is one of the extracurricular activities, and of course there are many, that can be very meaningful to a youngster. If those involved keep things in proper perspective, and it's not easy, as we know, to keep everything in proper perspective. We should not force youngsters into the game. We should not force them to do something that they really don't want to do. I think they should be exposed to it. Parents should expose them to it because it's something that is extra. For example, we don't want the kids, our youngsters, our children, studying all the time. We want them to study. We want them to do their homework. We want them to make their grades because that's really important. But they must have other areas too. And basketball is a great extracurricular activity for them, not only for the development of their physical skills, but basketball is so much a team game. And you learn many things from this. You learn to give, and of course giving is one of the greatest things that we can do, because when we give, we receive. And in the game of basketball, if you pass the ball, you'll get it back. If you're selfish with the ball and do not pass it, you're not as likely to give it back. So there are many things other than just the techniques of the game itself that a youngster can gain from playing the game of basketball. It can help him as far as learning things about physical conditioning, which is going to be extremely important. It can help him to perhaps stay away from some of the outside things that are things in which we would not like the youngsters to be involved. It can be a help in so many ways. And then it's a wonderful sport that they can enjoy and love just to play. My personal definition of success is peace of mind, which cannot be attained without satisfaction in knowing that you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable. At UCLA, in my many years there, never once did my players hear me mention winning. But always, every day at practice and the last thing almost before the tip-off of every game we played, they would hear me say, when the game is over, I want your head up. And there's only one way that it can be up. And you're the only one will know whether or not it could be up, because you can fool other people. You're the only one that will really know whether you've done the things you should have done, not just in practice each day, but between practices, so that you would be in the best possible position for this particular game. If you do that, the score won't really matter, but I really have a feeling that more often than not, the score will also be to your liking. As parents, I think we should expose our youngsters to worthwhile, meaningful extracurricular activities, and basketball is one. I feel that if your youngster shows any interest in basketball, you should encourage it. I think you should do what you can to support him in various ways, not just with equipment, and that's an important way to make sure that he has a ball and probably, if possible, a range for a basket for him to shoot, but observing, giving the pat on the back. We all like to have a little pat on the back. Don't carry it away, get carried away with it. Don't be dishonest about it, but be encouraging and helpful. Help the youngster, however, to begin with, to learn to execute the fundamentals properly. That's so important, not only in playing basketball, but in everything. It's the little fundamentals that will determine later on whether or not you're going to do reasonably well at whatever it might be, basketball or anything else. So I think you must be supportive. As long as the youngster's interested, don't put him down.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Tutko, and I've been a sports psychologist that's worked with children over the last 20 years. And one of the things I've become firmly convinced on is that every child should get an opportunity to participate in sports. I say this because I think that the physical, social, and psychological aspects of child development are firmly tied to the sports experience. I think very often we fail to realize that this experience, particularly at the age of 6 to 12, play a vital role in how this child gets an opportunity to be able to see the competitive world in later life. One important interaction that the parents might become aware of is that their relationship with the coach. I think very often parents, because the child gets involved in this experience, may have a tendency to relive their own experiences through the child. Very often the child is seen as an extension of child-rearing practices. So the parent might unknowingly put a little more pressure on the coach, or give the coach more information, or try to bias the coach. The child will be very aware of this. And again, it's important to remember that the child is observing the coach and the parent relationship, and it needs to be a positive one. One thing you might keep in mind at this juncture is the open communication between the two of you. The sharing, going to the games, the talking after the games. All of these things are very critical in having not only an open communication, but having the child feel that they're reaching their maximum potential. Now, let me mention some do's and don'ts as a parent in the raising of your own child dealing with sports. What are some do's? I think it's important to be the support system, to be there particularly when things aren't going well, so you can put your arm around your child and say that, hey, there's always another game. Another thing that's important is the possibility of sharing on a verbal level. That is, how much fun did you have? What did you feel that you picked up in today's game? What are you learning about the sports? Another thing that's very important at this juncture is to make sure that if the child has some particular questions or needs, you might be able to explore it together. Go to a game and discuss the game. Maybe getting a chance to go to the library, talking to an athletic director, talking to another athlete, talking to a coach. All of these are ways that you can show your child that you're going to be supportive. What are some don'ts? An obvious don't is, I think, yelling or screaming or making demands upon your child is saying that the sport and what the child is doing is more important than the child's own personal feelings. I think it's very critical at this juncture that the parents try not to keep from setting higher limits than the child might actually be able to attain. Parents often put subtle pressures on. Why? Because if that child is doing well, the rest of the world will see that we're a great family. How might they do it? By asking for extra practice, by making extra demands, by pushing when the child obviously might be in pain. The child becomes aware of the fact that after a while, they're simply a pawn, and what might be taking place is that the parents' needs are creeping in here, not the child's needs. In any case, remember that sport is a family affair. You cannot have a child involved in sports without having the whole family involved, the time, the effort, the money, and really emotional investment. And I think support and maturity at this juncture is absolutely vital. Remember, this is an important juncture in your child's life. They're entering the really competitive world, and the sports world providing the opportunity for physical, social, and psychological development, and at the same time having play and fun is very, very critical. And you as a parent can make a major contribution to that development.
These youngsters aren't perfect. They are learning, and you should be helpful to them and not be critical. Now, we must have criticism to an extent. We must be told how to do things and how to do things properly. But we criticize not to punish, and we must keep that in mind. We criticize to help, to correct, to prevent, to improve. And if we will do that and show the youngster we're really interested, then I think the youngster will come closer, let's put it that way, to developing to his potential. Now, if they don't have the interest, don't force them into that just because you're interested in it. Let them have the interest. The two most important words in life itself, in my opinion, are love and balance. Well, I'm not going to talk about love here. We could talk about that for hours, of course. But I am going to talk about balance. To effectively play the game of basketball requires balance in so many ways. You have to have physical balance to properly and quickly execute the fundamentals, and the whole game is the execution of the fundamentals in reality. But you can't have physical balance without emotional balance. You can't have emotional balance without mental balance. But when you think about the game itself, you have to have squad balance, you have to have rebound balance, you have to have defensive balance, you have to have offensive balance. Balance is just an all-encompassing word. You must have it in so many aspects of the game if it's going to be played and played well. To be able to play the game of basketball well, you must have good balance, good physical balance. But there's no way that you can have good physical balance unless you keep emotional and mental balance. You must keep your emotions under control, and you must be mentally alert at all times. Now, the extremities of the body control the physical balance, but they only do what the brain tells them to do. They receive the messages from the brain, so you have to have that mental balance at all times. Now, to execute almost any fundamental, offensive or defensive, the feet, one extremity on which the the game is played on your feet must be just wider than the shoulders. Just wider than the shoulders. Should be comfortable. Is that a comfortable position, Andre?
Yes, it is, Coach.
All right, now move them wide apart. Now what immediately happens there? You can see that, are you comfortable?
No, it looks like I'm stuck. I can't move.
And he's not going to be able to move quickly. And if you can't move quickly, you're going to be beaten on the basketball court. So they must be just wider than the shoulders with the entire sole of the foot in contact with the floor, but the weight distributed over the entire foot, but most of it on the ball of the foot. But the heels must be touching the floor. You're not up on your toes. You're on the balls of your feet. Now, the opposite end of the body, we have the head. Now, the head is made up of bone on the outside and water on the inside, heavy substances, and it's at the very end. And if you drop your head, drop it a little bit, Andre, the mere weight of it will cause you to have to lock to keep from falling. Therefore, the head must be directly above the midpoint between the 2 feet, and the head must be up. The chin should be up, I should say. Why, Andre?
Oh, you want to keep balance, and you also want to be able to see the floor clearly while you're playing at all times.
If you drop your chin, you lose a certain amount of your peripheral vision, so the chin must be up. Now, the hands are the other extremity. They must be close to the body, without the ball, on defense, with the ball. The ball should be close to the body. If he's dribbling the ball, it should stay close to the body. If he's ready to shoot, the ball is shot from close to the body. You don't reach out and shoot. If you reach out, you begin to peck the ball, and you're not going to shoot with any consistency at all. To pass the ball, passing the ball is quickness, and it must be done from close to the body. If it takes you too much time, if you try to reach out or you try to throw up over, you're going to lose time. You're going to permit the defense on the potential receiver to adjust and possibly intercept, or at least prevent the receiver from receiving the pass in a position where they can be dangerous. Offensively, you know, we like to get the ball in a position close enough where we can shoot, pass, or drive. And if you can take one of those away from them, you've limited, curtailed some of the things that they can do. So you have to keep these things in mind at all times. Now, between the three extremities, the head, the feet, and the hands, we have joints. All these joints must be flexed and relaxed. If you tend to tighten up and move around just a little bit, Andre, if you tend to tighten up, you're not going to be able to adjust quickly to the movements of the opposition. You have to keep that balance with the feet just wider than the shoulders. If he's sliding defensively, for example, the feet would still stay just as wide as they are now. One doesn't close into the other. So when we think of physical balance, we're thinking of the feet to begin with. The game is played on the floor. So we're thinking of the feet that are on the floor, and then the opposite extremity, the head, directly above the midpoint. Now, obviously, they won't stay there all the time, but when you lose it for whatever reason, get it back as soon as possible. And always have the chin up so you can see as much of the floor as possible. And then we must have the hands close to the body and all joints flexed and relaxed. As soon as you lock a joint, you have lost something. They must be not loosey-goosey at all, but they must be relaxed. Balance means so many different things. It isn't only the physical balance with the feet and the head and the hands and the joints in a particular position that are necessary for proper play of the game. We must have we can't have that physical balance without the mental and emotional balance, but we also need squad balance, we need rebound balance, we need defensive balance, fast break balance in almost any area of the game, or not, shouldn't say almost any area of the game, in every area of the game. We must have balance to be able to function any ways close to our own particular level of competency, and that's all we can try to do. Do the best we can with what we have. Now, the under-basket shot can be used in two different ways. You can have the hand underneath the ball, or you can have the hand behind the ball. I have no particular preference. I wanted it to be what is easiest for the individual. But what I did want is the ball always close to the body, never reaching out to put the ball in the basket, not reaching out with the hand behind it, not reaching out with the hand underneath it. The ball close to the body. and it should be released off the board almost entirely on the underbasket shot. You're going to be driving hard. One of the greatest mistakes made in the underbasket shot is trying to jump too high. We want a quick jump. Don't go for height, go for quickness. Quickness is the most valuable physical asset for any athlete, and certainly that's true in shooting. We want control, but we want quickness, and we want, obviously, control comes first, but then as quickly as possible. Now, the underbasket shot, we want the ball to hit higher than the basket, up about the top of the block above the basket, and let it drop through. The idea is to try, generally speaking, to let the ball hit the board softly and come through without touching the rim. If you shoot it a little too hard, it will touch the rim, but it'll still come through the basket, and that's a primary objective. Now, Andre, if you'll move in here a moment. Now, I want you to, first of all, we're going from this side, and for most youngsters, instead of trying to shoot, if you're right-handed, instead of trying to shoot with the left hand from this side of the basket, use the right hand. As you get a little older and a little stronger, then you can use the other hand. But now we'll work on the right hand, even from that side of the basket. Now, when you shoot with the right hand, you should take off of the left foot. So I want you to move up to the block, take the one step with the left foot to jump up and lay the ball in the basket, and then we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Now, remember, not get height, but don't try to get so much height that you lose a little bit of control of the ball. All right, Andre. Up high, that's it. Now back. I generally like them off of the pass. I would prefer that practically every shot in our offense came from following the pass. Now, the underbasket shot from the side we've shown from both sides. You're taking off always on the opposite foot from the hand with which you shoot. You're laying the ball high off of the board. Generally speaking, whenever you can, use the board. There's a little better, the percentage is a little better in your favor when you use the board. But there are going to be times when you come straight down the center of the court. Now, that's a different type of shot from the side. It's a little more difficult in some ways, in some aspects. There are different ideas to how you should shoot it. There again, it may be with a hand underneath or the hand behind. And there's a question of whether you should use the board or not. Generally speaking, down through the center, I tried to teach our players to lay the ball in just over the rim, not off the board from down the center. Now, everything else remains exactly the same. Ball close to the body, good body control, getting up quickly, not trying to out-jump, but getting a quick release. You shoot by people, remember, not over people. When you try to get too much height, that throws your control off a little bit. Andre, come down the center here for a moment and take the short one underneath in the center. All right, now that's with a hand underneath. Now that's the hand back of it. It makes really no difference. I have no particular preference. Now, some may want to use the board. Use the board, Andre. Now, if you use the board, generally speaking, I would prefer, though, the hand to be behind the ball if you use the board. When you shoot with the right hand, you should take off of the left foot. Now, I, for one, was not insistent that my players keep the hand underneath or the hand behind the ball. I wanted them to do whichever was easiest for them, which they felt most comfortable, and then we would practice on that. The only thing that I did demand is that whether it's underneath or behind the ball, I must be close to the body. The underbasket shot is almost the same as the jump shot, inasmuch as I want the forearm rather perpendicular to the body. And then we release up in here, and in either one we're going to have the good touch, the good finger wrist touch if we're going to be successful with it. If you reach out to lay it in, you run the chance of losing control, even though you're in the open, because the farther that ball gets away from you, the less control you have. Although all offense is predicated on passing the ball, we still have to get the ball in the basket. That's the end result which we want. And many of the shots are going to be of a set or jump shot variety. And the ball should be received, since I like, generally speaking, all shots to come at the end of a pass rather than at the end of a dribble, but even if it was at the end of a dribble, the same fundamentals apply. You have to hold the ball properly. Now remember the balance. We must get the feet wider than the shoulders. We must be in good balance with the head up. And when we receive the ball, I would like the pass to come just under the chin to the receiver, right in this vicinity. You receive the pass with the one hand blocking and the other hand tucking. Now, as you receive the ball, it should turn in your hands well spread, with the shooting hand moving behind the ball and the other hand tucking underneath the ball as you move up into the shot. Now, don't receive the ball and turn it right then. You have the ball, and as you move into the shot, it comes up with the off hand underneath. Now, the fingers must be well spread on each hand to have as much control as possible. Some say just the ends of the fingers should touch the ball. I don't go so much for that. I want that's where the pressure is going to come from, but even the pad can touch the ball. We don't want to hold it out where we're holding it in this manner. Even the pads might touch the ball, but no pressure from the pads. All the pressure at the fingertips. The fingers are going to give you the sense of touch, and even the ball, even though the ball may touch the pads, it must not touch the heel of the hand. We don't want the ball touching the heel of the hand. It's not there at all. And we're going to get that wrist and finger snap. Now, a very important thing as you come up to shoot is that the hand, the elbow, the knee, and the foot must be in a relatively straight line. A relatively straight line. Now remember that you have a target. If you're shooting clean, I believe that you're going to end up with trying to make your fingers, particularly the forefinger, just come up over the top of that basket as the ball leaves over here. And when you complete the shot, when the hand comes down, don't complete the shot and have the hand come down here and then back in. The shot and then the hand back here. The shot and then the hand back here. Always coming back. But get the wrist and finger tip just at the height of the jump. Now remember, the knees will be extended, the elbow will be extended, and the wrist and fingers all at the same time. That's when they'll all be completely extended at the same time. If one happens before the other, I think it'll throw the shot off a little bit. So holding the ball firmly without grasping it hard, keeping the ball close to the body, coming up almost by the nose, and one of the important things too in finishing, many players will take the jump shot or quick set shot, and at the finish their head gets farther away from their hand and they'll fall back at the shot. I never like to see a shooter, when he lands on the floor, be falling backwards. I don't want him charging forward. I want him to land almost perpendicular, but not quite. Forward just a little, because we want the shooter to always be in position to rebound. As you will remember, Andre, in my particular style, any outside shooter, short jump shot or a little longer, we're up at the range, whatever that individual might be given, when he comes down, he moves for the center of the floor, for the broken line, to take the long rebound. Yes. If that comes within our offense, that's where he always goes, because we should have triangular rebounding underneath unless somebody's loafing.
Yeah, they would get in trouble.
That's right. If somebody's loafing, they're liable to get a chance to get a good rest.
Yes.
While the game is going on. So think of the things that we want on that now. The quick release. Now, don't get too deep a knee bend, but get enough to give you the quick release. Remember, shooting is quickness. We do not try to, if I'm on defense here, you're not going to try to jump over me. You're going to get that ball by me. It's the quickness that you get it by. You maybe give me the head fake down and then come up. Never give a head fake up and then shoot up. Give the head fake down and then up. You try to get me down and then come up. All right, let's take a few here, shots, trying to think of those things. That hand close to the body. You try to make the ball come in, if possible, without touching the rim. Then if it does, you shoot a little too hard, then it hits the rim and comes right through. The pass should always be made just about below the chin, we'll say, almost at the chin, the top of the ball. That lets the shooter take it up immediately. He doesn't have to bring it down and then up, or up and then down. Now on the quick jump shot, the shoulders must be squared away toward the target. The balance must be good. The ball is close to the body, good balance with that head up. Now you reach up. Don't reach out to score. We want that ball to go up off the board and drop through. We don't want you to reach out and try to throw it through. We don't want you to do that. Now, as you take the shot, the elbow, the hand, the knee, and the forward foot will be almost in a straight line. If the hand starts reaching, that's out of line. If the elbow gets out, that's out of line. We want almost a straight line. Any good offense is predicated on the ability to pass the ball from teammate to teammate. And most of the time, they're not going to be standing still. We'll do some things standing still and have some drills just to try to teach certain fundamentals. But generally speaking, our drills are going to be on the move, passing the ball on the move, the different types of pass that you'll have to make and make quickly, and knowing the type of pass that should be made to a certain individual, whether he's coming to the post or if he's cutting away or wherever it might be. Now, to have a successful offense, you not only have to have good passing, you have to have good receiving. And I think sometimes the receiving aspect is overlooked. I like for players to receive the ball with one hand blocking and the other tucking. And regardless of where they receive it, if they reach out, reach up, or if it's perfect, I want that ball right to the chest immediately, held close to the body at the chest. Now, I'd like for you to move a little bit in position rather than just standing still. I don't want long follows through. We're not trying to look good. I don't like the player that just wants to look good as far as form is concerned. I want the pass getting back and forth received. The one important thing about passing is that the pass is received in the proper place by the receiver. Now, our target now is at chest, right at the letters of the chest. That's where we want. Don't expect you to be perfect all the time. If it's not perfect, I expect you to catch it anyway, because it shouldn't be that far off. But I want quick movement of the ball, not long follow-throughs. You can't do that. Remember, you pass by the defense, not around the defense. If you're going to pass over my shoulder here, give me a little head fake down. Don't take the ball down there. Just a little head fake down a little and then over the shoulder. Now, if you want to pass down on this side, when I fake me up and get me to reach up. All right, now just the quickness back and forth and moving just a little bit. All right, move the ball. Now watch the receiving. Watch the receiving. Have block and tuck. Keep that ball close to the body. Get it to your chest as soon as you receive it. Don't dangle it. Never let that ball dangle. The ball must never be dangling. Always close to the body. Always close to the body. Always close to the body. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep the ball moving. Now let's make the quick two-hand overhead pass. Now on the quick two-hand overhead pass, we bring the ball up and extend the wrists and fingers. You do not rock. I do not want the ball to get back here. I want no rocking of the body. I want the hands to come straight up, and it's wrist and fingers alone. And as soon as it gets up here, as you almost reach the apex, it starts moving forward, so that when you reach here, it's gone. It's not up here and then wait and then gone. It's not in different motions, just one smooth movement, up and out, and then you're back ready to receive. Now on receiving, always, hands should always be right in here. Palms of the hands, whenever you do not have the basketball, and the game of basketball is played, generally speaking, in triangles. If one man has the ball, there's two receivers that are first to be looked for on the floor, whether it be off the board, whether it be in the set offense, whether it be in the fast break. There's always two logical receivers, and then there may be a third one coming up. But you have to think of those first two in the triangle and the pass that should be made to them. We must not telegraph it. The pass must be a quick, sharp pass. All passes are sharp. Never hard, but never easy. A straight pass, generally speaking, should be parallel to the floor. A bounce pass should come up no higher than the waist, usually between the knees and the waist. Now the two-hand overhand, it's up in here, no follow-through out like that, no rocking, just up and gone. Let's do the two-hand overhead alone now. This is a good pass from forwards, wingmen into the post at times. And it's also good from guards into the post at times, or even into the wingman at times. It's the quickness. All right, hold it. Now, one of the things that we do to try to increase the strength of the wrist and fingers, just to increase the strength and the quickness, is we'll just have the ball go back and forth between two players. Throw him quick. Crisp, very crisp. Don't try and knock him down, but make him be alert and alive, ready for that ball. And really see how quickly you can move it back and forth. Block and tuck and get rid of it. All right, let's go. See how fast you can move it. Move, 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 move. Don't stand still. Move. Don't jump. Don't jump. Glide, glide, slide. Don't jump. Never jumping. Always try to keep the head from bobbing up and down. When on offense and defense, I don't want that head bobbing up and down at all. Quick movement. Ball close to the body. Close to the body. Block and tuck. Block and tuck. Keep your eye on that target. Now make some bounce passes. Remember, not up higher than the waist. Not up higher than the waist. The ball should hit from 2/3 to 3/4 of the way across. If it hits in the center, it'll go too high. If it's too close to his feet, it'll be too low. We want it to be about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way across. Don't try to put too much spin on it, but keep it moving. Just let the natural spin come on it. All right, that's pretty good. In passing, too, there's the tendency on occasions to try to spin the ball too much. Spinning can cause fumbling. Too much English on the ball may cause fumbling. We want a natural rotation, but not too much spin. All we want on offense is to get good shots, high percentage shots in areas where certain players will shoot better. That's all we're working for. If we do that, we must have it predicated by good passing and good ball handling. Block and tuck. Block and tuck. And get that ball to your chest as soon as you get it. Head directly above the midpoint between the 2 feet. Weight evenly distributed on both feet. Block and tuck. Block and tuck. Now make it quick. Don't reach around. You're throwing by that defense, not around that defense. Tuck it in before you pass it. Now just two players can work together and help their passing by things of that sort. I do not think you'd help your passing if you just stand and reach out here and pass back and forth. That doesn't really help. But if you keep continually moving or work on the fundamentals of the receiving, work on the fundamentals of the different passes, two people together can really improve their game. Dribbling may be the most overused, abused, and perhaps misused fundamental of the game. But it has an important part of the offensive game and also, in a sense, of the defensive game. But it must be used at the proper time. The conclusion of the dribble is extremely important. It should generally conclude with a good pass, whether it be immediately after you've driven the ball out from the board, or whether it be at the end of a fast break, or whether it would be after a reverse turn. Regardless, usually it should terminate with a good pass. Sometimes it will terminate with the shot, and of course when we say with a shot, we hope it'll be a good shot, the high percentage shot. Now there are two types of dribbling. One is the control dribble and one is the speed dribble. Now the control dribble is used whenever there is defensive people around you, or there's any chance of someone, defensive person, getting their hand in. And the ball should not come up much higher than the knee in here. And the ball must go quickly to the floor. Now, don't give it that slow motion. That gives a hand of the defense time to flick in there. So if you put it down, up and down very, very quickly with a lot of pressure up and down, it has a much better chance of being protected than if you're given it in slow motion. Now, there is the speed dribble, and that means when you're out in front of everyone. You might make an interception, might receive a pass when you're out in front of everybody. You're going for the basket. Now, that can be higher. That can come up almost, well above the waist, almost to the chest, and you're pushed out of way where the control dribble is stayed in with the elbow almost close to the basket. Now, it is necessary to learn to dribble with both hands, and there are many types of drills that we can use to do that. Now, one might be this. Now, we're talking about the control dribble. Gavin, take the control dribble. Now, I don't want you standing still. I want you moving around a little bit. but using now just the right hand, and don't let it come much above your knees. Now, a dribbler should always have his head up, so I want you looking out. All right, start dribbling with just the right hand. Moving around all the time, seeing as much of the floor as possible. Now switch over to the left hand. Keep the ball close to the body. Now the hand must stay on top of the ball. The palm must be toward the floor. If you get it to the side, you'll get called for carrying the ball unless you're a pro, and then you can carry it all over at times. But when you're learning, you must learn to keep your hand on top of the basketball. Now, in addition to the either hand, we must learn to switch from hand to hand. Now, I like standing in place again, although moving around in a short area there, moving it from hand to hand, exchanging it on each dribble. Just one way and then the other. Keep it moving, up, forward and backward, side, left and right, up and back, forward, and keep moving around, just learning to do it. All right? Now, a youngster can learn to do this with a ball by himself. He can learn to control the ball. Now, we know that we like to conclude the dribble with a good pass or a good shot. So there are various things we can do that. To have a pass, generally speaking, we need someone else. Now, there's other things. There's the behind-the-back dribble, which I would rather your youngsters not fool with at all. That will come along in time. But that is something else that is often overused. It isn't necessary. One of the great dribblers of all time was a player by the name of Oscar Robertson, and some consider him to be the greatest player of all time. And you might see him play a half a dozen games and never go behind his back with a dribble. But if it was necessary in a place where he gained an advantage, he could do it. So it's good to be able to have it as an offensive weapon. Now, there's some other places where the dribble comes in handy. Now let's say that here is a postman. He's a postman, and he receives a pass on the post. And as he receives the pass, the defensive person on him overplayed and reached for the pass here. Now there he ought to drop this leg straight for the basket, take one dribble, and up and put the ball in the basket. I never like for him to take over one dribble on that. If they dribble 2 times, smaller, quicker men are going to have a chance to be in there. If he were overplayed on this side, he'd drop the other leg straight toward the basket. Now on that, before using that dribble, and it should be out in there low and then up and tucking it right in as you go up for the basket. One thing that he must keep in mind is to not let the ball come too high, because it's going to take too long and it's going to permit the defense to maybe reach in there. Now another thing that the postman might use it on occasion is that the man is playing good position and he turns and faces the basket, fakes the shot, he goes up, and you might get the drive on a person on occasion. Now in that particular situation, I would have proved that he go under the arm raised rather than the other way. If they go toward the side where they would have a hand down, it's possible that they may get in there or slide in there, and probably the hand down will be on the leg side that's back. So it'd make it a little tougher. For this one up, he's probably going to go. Now there again, on using the dribble, as you go by the defense, he should go by in that particular situation as close to me as possible. If he goes this side, ball should be placed down with his left hand, and this right hand, the back of the hand, should go right through there, close to me, with the back of the hand in that manner, and go only the one dribble. All right, now let's do that. All right, so there's the thing. Now, there was a time when I, as a coach, and I've seen many coaches, taught postmen many moves out there, fakes and drives. I don't believe in that anymore. I think the only time, generally speaking, he's going to drive will be if the defense, as he receives the ball, overplays him, then he can drive, or if the defense is playing back and he makes the turn and the defense falls for a fake. One time, I don't want him to stand out there and continue to fake, because while he's doing that, defense is going to close in and it's going to be tougher for him to do anything without being under pressure. Now, we have the same type of thing on the sides for our forwards, our wingmen. The same thing here. If he would receive a pass on the wing out here, and as he received it, the defense sort of overplayed reaching for it, then he wants to cut and go for the basket. Now, as he goes for the basket, a very important thing, in all probability, If the other team is a good team and they're playing team ball, as he comes for the basket, there's going to be someone come over here to help. He must know the direction from which help comes. He has a teammate open in that direction, and he must see him. If this man doesn't get here and someone came from this far weak side over here, he knows that there's someone there. So he must always be alive to do that. Back again now. Now on the side, we can have the same situation where that he's back up against him here. He takes a look. Now he's looking for the pass. He's not looking for the drive. He's not looking for the shot at this time. He's looking for the pass. And this man plays good position on him, but he might, as he's looking, he might give me a head fake. I might go up and he could go by me the same way. But as he goes by, probably there's going to be someone sliding in front of defense. There certainly should be, and he should be looking for the pass off. If no one does, go put it in the basket. So the dribble is a good weapon to have when you're overplayed in your set offense on over the wing, or a good play of the postman's overplayed. Now, as far as your guards out here that would be on the floor that are advancing the ball. Now, if I'm overplayed out here, I can go by him when he reaches in to overplay. Now I've thrown pressure because we now have the defense outnumbered. And if someone shifts to take me, we've got the lay down. That's what we call driving the ball in. You'll see in a lot of games of the older players that you'll watch on television, they'll call it penetrating. And the penetrator makes it difficult for the defense. Someone has to come and take him if he penetrates by his defensive person. And when someone comes to take him, that's leaving someone open. And your good men with the ball get the ball to the teammate that was left open. A good penetrator is essential for having a good offense. Dribbling, if there's anyone around you at all, I like the ball to never come up higher than the waist and the elbow to always be in contact with the body. So we're dribbling here. We're not going up and down in here. Now if you're out in the open court, advancing the ball down the floor slowly, which I didn't like. I wanted it to go down the floor in a hurry. That's a different situation. Then you can bring it up. But normally speaking, I don't want to see the ball on the dribble come up higher than the waist, and in trouble it doesn't come up higher than the knees where you move it back and forth. I want that ball to get to the floor and back up as quickly as possible. I want that ball really moving. Now the dribbler must learn to dribble with either hand. He must learn to cross over, and I like my guards in particular to be able to dribble equally well with either hand. I'm going to talk a little bit about rebounding. I feel that the most important thing about rebounding, whether it be offensive or defensive, is to assume the shot will be missed. Seems like a rather insignificant thing, but it isn't at all. If you wait until you see that the ball is missed, someone who assumed it will be missed is in there ahead of you and will get it. So the first thing, whether you're on offense or defense, is to assume that every shot will be missed. I think the second thing that I tried to teach was, as soon as a shot is taken, I want everyone to get their hands above your shoulders. I felt as a coach, if I could teach my players that one aspect, that in the course of a game, when a shot was taken, even all my players on the bench would snap their hands up here. Obviously, that's going too far, but I did want to impress it to that extent. The hands must get above the shoulders. And the third thing is go get the ball. You have to go get the ball. You have to want the ball. The good rebounders want the basketball. You do not have to be a great jumper, as some people think. It helps, of course. But some of the great rebounders I have known have not been great jumpers. They have great timing. Your great jumpers will get spectacular rebounds, but they won't get as many, generally speaking, as those who get good position, have their hands up and ready, and really want the basketball. Now, from an offensive point of view, I'll illustrate something that I wanted here. Assume that this person is on defense and a shot is taken. Maybe I took the shot or someone else. What I want to do immediately is to throw an arm Either if he's over this way, I'll throw this arm. If he's on this side, I'll throw this arm, get the hands up, and go for the basketball just as soon as the shot is taken. Let's put Gavin on offense here. Let's say I'm in the defensive position. As I turn to check him out, he should throw this arm across my back and be in there and get it in here just as soon as he can and go for the ball. Let's do that again now, Gavin. Let's say that in this position, and let's say that I turn this way, he should throw the opposite arm, get by and get it back in there and go for the basketball. That's all he needs to do offensively. So let's remember this. Assume the shot will be missed, get your hands above your shoulders, and then go for the ball. Now you go for it according to the position of the defense that's in front of you. If the man's slightly over here, you throw the proper arm. Now, in throwing the arm, I wanted to show you something else, too, that's very important. The tendency sometimes is the person will throw their arm and then try to push him away. Obviously a foul. You can do almost the same thing and it will not be a foul. You try to get him to lean, throw this arm, and you throw the back of the hand toward them. Not this. That's holding and pushing. This, as a general rule, will be okay. Throw it and go for the ball. We're not trying to push him out of the way. We're trying to beat him to the ball. All right. Those are the main things from, as I see it, from offensive rebounding. Now, in addition to that, we must have that balance at all times. We must keep those feet in good position. We must have the hands up. We must have the head directly above the 2 feet and go for the basketball. Now, defensive rebounding is a little bit different. First of all, we'll assume again that he's taken the shot. I take a step back. All right, now, if my left foot is forward in this particular position and he goes this way, I step here, throw these elbows out, and go for the ball. I do not try to step this way, block, hold, lean back, and hold him out. I turn. All I want him to do is to run farther than I have to run. He has to go around me, an arc. If he has to run an arc, I should beat him to the ball. And there's a territory that the defensive rebounder should be covering. If the position of the floor is such that I'm covering here, then I should have a teammate covering there and a teammate covering here. Very definitely, we want triangular rebounding underneath the basket, both offensively and defensively. So the first thing from an offensive point of view, or from a defensive point of view, the man you're guarding, step away from him, watch what he does. If he goes this way, you step across, go for the ball. If this foot is up and he goes the other way, I cross back again. I can't bring this foot up and cross over or he'll be gone. Therefore, if he goes to the side where I have the foot forward, I swing the other foot back, stretch out, and go for the basketball. Now, those are the important points that I feel about rebounding. Now, in addition to those, when you go for it, I want you to get that ball high, and the first thing you do with it, let's say defensive now, is to bring that ball to your chest. As you get it high, bring it to your chest, and as you come down with the ball, if I'm on this side of the basket, as I bring it to my chest, I'm looking over that shoulder, looking for the outlet pass, there or there. That's the things that I must do first of all. Let's show what I mean on that, Gavin. You go up and get this ball, jerk it to your chest, under your chin, well protected, and look for the outlet pass. Okay? An excellent example that some of you may have seen is Bill Walton. If he gets that ball on the defensive end, he almost, or will it many times, he'll have that ball gone even before he comes to the floor. Now, that isn't always necessary, but it's great if you can do it. You must be looking for the outlet pass. There are many players who will get the defensive rebound, come down with it, and then they'll just hide it in here like this. Show me what I mean, Kevin. Well, they've lost all chance of getting a break against the opposing team. So we must look for the good outlet. Must be safe because we don't want to lose the ball. Possession of the ball is most important. Now, let's assume, again, that we're closer under the basket in here, and he is defending me. Take the defensive position. Now, if we're closer under here, now he can't back up that step and cross over because I'm going to have the position. If he's in that position, He's got to swing quickly one way or the other and now hold me out of there. And he's got to move his feet one way or the other depending on me. He has to feel me, and it's all right to feel with his hand, a hand or two, but like we generally speak, to keep the hands up. But once he feels him going, feel and get in position and go get the ball. Now, from an offensive position in the close under, you know that that's apt to happen. You can't go over his back. So I think that close under, generally speaking, the offensive man is better off to playing for the ball out rather than to try to get it back in, because against most officiating, he's going to be called on a foul if he tries to get it back in. Now, if he gets an inside position, say he got the step in here, that becomes a little different. Then he can go back in with it. So, first of all, let's remember on rebounding, assume the shot will be missed. 2, get your hands up here and be ready. 3, on offense, go get the ball. On defense, 3, take a step back and cross in front of the offensive person. In my opinion, those are the 3 things that are most important as far as rebounding is concerned. One thing that should be mentioned, so many youngsters in trying to get height go up for rebounds with one hand. I think generally speaking, you should always go up to try to get a 2-hand rebound rather than with one hand. There are occasions offensively, not so much for the smaller youngsters, but as they get taller, you watch the pros and some of the college players, and even some of the high school players, they can be up there offensively and get the tip back in. But youngsters aren't going to be able to do that. So the best thing is to try to get the ball with 2 hands. Now, one drill that we might have is this particular one. Go up, throw the ball up. I want you to come down. I want you to get the ball with 2 hands, come down, and give a pump, and then go back up and put it in. And go to the other side and do the same thing. An offensive 2-hand rebounder in there with that one pump. Now, I had a player, only a couple of years, he was just maturing, that I think is the best that I've ever seen at that particular move, and that's Marcus Johnson. He was extremely good at coming down with a 2-hand rebounding, come on, pump, and then he would go up strong. He could almost take a player on each arm right up with him and put it in the basket. And that's a good move, a good thing that you can use by yourself again. Now, another thing is you come off with the rebound, come down with it, all right, wide. Now, turn toward the outside on the outside foot, cross over in this particular situation. Although there will be times when you can, depending on the defense, you can swing this foot back instead. And looking always for you've got 2 places to look first. One will be over in here, and another one will be out in here. And we must really look for those as you come down. You try to have that good foot movement, either the crossover as you're protecting the ball and protect that ball, or the swing back and protecting the ball. Do a couple now and pass over to me. Assume the shot will be missed. 2, get your hands up here and be ready. 3, on offense, go get the ball. On defense, 3, take a step back and cross in front of the offensive person. Although the game is 50% offense and 50% defense, in my opinion, most championships are won with the greater defensive teams. Defense seems to win championships. I believe that is true in football. I think it's true in baseball. And I think it's true in basketball. That doesn't mean that you don't have to have the good offense, but the good offense with poor defense. A great example of that was a number of years ago, long before you youngsters would have known anything about basketball or were even born. The Boston Celtics had great offensive teams with players like Bob Cousy and Bill Sharman and Tom Heinsohn and some other players, great offensive players, but they could never win a championship. They were setting offensive records year after year, but they wouldn't even get into the playoffs, and if they did, they'd lose the first round. They added one player, Bill Russell, a great defensive player. Not only a great individual defensive player, but his style made other players better defensively, and they immediately started winning championships. They were probably not as good offensively, but they improved so much defensively that they won championship after championship. Now, I believe that is true in any sport. So there's more to defense than just defending the player you are guarding. Now, I'm going to talk first of all about the players away from the ball. Let's assume that the ball is over here, and I am defending against a forward on this side. I must have one hand pointed toward the ball and one hand toward my man. My balance, feet wider than the shoulders, tail down, head up, good balance, and moving, never chalk, never stand still, moving in here. If this man moves this way, I back up on him. If he goes this way, I come out on him. But I continually look. I go back as far as I can go and still see the ball and my man. As he goes here, I have to back up a little. So it's so important that the players without the ball, players defending players without the ball, must be ready to help at any time. You often hear of selfish basketball players, and almost invariably, all the reporters and all of the fans are talking about offensive players. In my opinion, there is as much selfishness on defense as there is on offense. You not only are assigned in the man-to-man defense to a certain individual, you must be helping the team at all times. And that must be done on the weak side, those away from the ball. In most any style of offense, the game is played more or less in triangles. And that means two defensive men are not in that triangle, but they must be floating and helping out at all times. On defense, as you get closer to the basket, you must constantly be thinking about denying the player you are guarding the ball in a position where that player could be a triple threat. By a triple threat, I mean in an area close enough that he would be a pretty good shooter, and where he could still drive and dribble on you, because you'd have to play close enough for him to keep him from getting the shot. And also he'd be dangerous on the give and go. The most beautiful thing in basketball is the pass and cut. Pass, giving up the ball, and then making a move against a defensive player to get open to receive a return pass. The most beautiful thing in the game, in my opinion, from an offensive point of view. So you're trying on defense to deny the person you're guarding to get in that position. If they do get in that position, try to deny any one of those. You may float back to deny the drive or the pass, depending on the abilities of the particular player. Or if he's a real dangerous outside shooter, you've got to cut off the shot, not let him shoot from there. So there are various things that are necessary that you must be thinking at all times. Now, so guarding the player without the ball, you're always opened up toward the ball. In other words, if I'm guarding a player here and the ball is there, I'm opened up this way. I'm not this way with my head back over my shoulder. I'm opened up where I can see both the person I'm guarding plus the ball. If the ball goes in there, I keep opening up around toward it all the time and backing more toward the basket as the ball gets closer to the basket. A couple of points that I like to make in regard to defense is that when playing off the ball or on the man with the ball, you must stay low. You must keep low, and you must not reach. One of the biggest mistakes on defense is reaching. Too many think they can steal the ball. It's all right occasionally to flip in, but when you do, always flip up. Down will draw a foul more often than not. Up, you might do the same thing, hit their arm, and yet it will not be called a foul. So always play up, not down over the arm of the offensive player. Now, when you're guarding the man away from the ball, as Gavin is now, I don't have the ball, he must have one hand pointing toward the ball and the other hand pointing toward me. Now, if I make a move quickly this way, he must back up, and if it gets to the point where I would go behind him, he's got to still try to keep his eye on the ball and know where I am at all times. Now, the farther I get away from the ball, the farther he can stay away from me. But as the ball would come over to this side, then he'd have to go back first. Don't come straight toward me. Now, if the ball would come from there to there and he'd come straight toward me, what I'd do is go right here. So he must go back first to cut off this and then come up with this hand coming up with the ball over here. Now, another thing that I'd like to point out, and not too good from this position, but to keep in mind, particularly you young people that want to learn to play defense, if you're guarding a person with the ball and that ball passed over your head, back up quickly 2 steps, but don't dare take a look at that ball. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that you'll see made, and you'll see it made even occasionally by the pros, that a man will pass and he'll turn, and when he looks back, this man's gone. So you must not take your eye off of your man. If I pass over there, he backs up quickly and does not look for the ball at all. Now, when he has me, now he can gradually turn his head and find both man and ball again. A most important point. When your man passes the ball, back up quickly, but keep your eye on your man. Stay low on defense, too. We often find this. A man passes and he raises up, and that makes it easy for the offense to go by him. So always stay low. Back up and stay low. All right, now in this position, without the ball, he's opened up here. If I try to go behind him, he tries to keep position, always man and ball, keeping working, never crossing his legs, keeping them spread, keeping that balance. As I go farther away, he can go farther away. As the ball comes toward, then he closes in. All right, now let's suppose that I have the ball. All right, if I have the ball in this position, all right, now, in this position with the basket there, I want this leg forward because he must not give up this baseline. So that hand must be down, and he plays up in here. Don't play down. If I drive here, he's sliding, he's sliding, he's sliding. If I turn back, now the hand's changed. This hand goes down, and he plays this one up, and this hand one comes up. Now the offhand should be just like this. In case I would cross over, I want that hand to be there. If he have that hand like this, playing up now, and I cross over, I may get it over. I want that hand on the crossover. So if I'm going this way, this hand is playing here, this hand is covering as much area as possible. If it comes back, it just reverses. A very important point for him to remember. All right, now, if I get in the fake here and start here, he drops the leg, hand down, playing in here. Don't reach in. Do not reach in. My balance, feet wider than the shoulders, tail down, head up, good balance. And your movements on defense, you stay low, you keep your feet spread. I'm sliding, gliding, trying to, always the back foot dragging a little bit, always dragging a little bit, and never playing down for the ball, always playing up. Now there are a few basic things in regard to defense that I'd like to make stress particularly, call your attention to a little stronger than normal. When the person you're guarding does not have the ball, remember that you're opened up. That means in this manner with one hand pointing toward the ball and one hand pointing toward the man that you're assigned to guard. And the farther that your man gets away from the ball, the farther you can be away from your man. Now always remember that. The farther he gets away from the ball and the basket, the farther you can be away from him. But always opening up, opening up, opening up. Don't turn your head over your shoulder to look. Always move the feet to look where you can increase your vision, not just turning your head. Actually, good defense could be played if you had something on your neck here that prevented you from ever turning your head. And I've often considered trying to come up with some contraption that would set on your shoulders and keep our players from turning their head at all. And they always should open up, particularly on defense. Now, on defense, too, remember that your position is so important. Generally speaking, and this isn't true 100%, but it's a rather good rule to go by, stay between the person you're guarding and the basket you're defending. If he's here and your basket is here, you want to be here. You don't want to be on the other side of him. You want to be on a direct line. Remember, the game is played in angles, straight lines, and those that run arcs, they're the teams that are easy to play against. So try to keep between your man and the basket no matter where he is. Most of the time, I won't say that there can't be some exceptions, so let's remember that. And another thing that is so important, young man, if you're defending against a person and he passes the ball over your head, never, never turn and look. You know where the ball went. You don't have to turn and see. You back up quickly in the direction to where the ball went, but keep your eye on the person who passed. And don't you dare try to find that ball until it's safe. When you know that he didn't cut for the basket and stayed out there, then you can gradually turn your head until you can see both ball and man again. And remember, too, that if he passes over your head, don't raise up. You must stay low. And when you would advance on a player, stay low. Don't come out high and don't fall for fakes, because that makes it easy for the offensive player. Now remember, if a person is driving to your left, you play up with the left hand. Up, up. Don't go down. You play up, and the right hand covers as much territory here to prevent a crossover dribble. Remember that. Now if he drives to your right, the right hand plays up, and the left hand then covers as much territory as possible. Those are all important points of defense. And remember that defense is a team game. A defense is just as much a team game as offense is. You have a far greater responsibility than just defending against one person. You are defending the basket, and that means against the other team. It doesn't make any difference who scores. It's going to be 2 points against you. And you must have that same idea in mind as you have on offense. It doesn't make any difference which one of you or your teammates score when you're offense. It's still 2 points for your team, and it isn't going to be any more or any less. So make it a team game, both offensively and defensively. And the more you can make it a team game at each end of the court, I guarantee you, the more fun you're going to have playing the game. And it is a fun game. And it's a fun game when you're playing together, just as it is at home, when the family is working together to get something that's good for all. That's fun.
We've been discussing some of the do's and don'ts and the pitfalls for parents that they might experience when they're watching their child perform